Alright, what's up guys? Today's another day. We are working on the BRZ again. Last video we started the steering angle kit made by FDF Fabrication. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link right there for you. But basically we got the front suspension all taken apart, got the inner outer tie rods out, and I was able to assemble and install the new lower control arms. The control arms gave me a little bit of a fight last time I was here doing the angle kit, so that's why I had to cut the day early. Well, not really cut the day early, but cut the video short because I kind of ran out of time. But today we're back. We have to modify the strut towers and hopefully start installing everything to get basically everything set up how it's supposed to be. The car probably won't make it to the ground, but I want everything just to be like roughly installed, and we're just gonna have to take it from there. So the last day I was here, I ended the day with having to modify the upper strut tower. So in order to run these camber caster plates, it's extended out about 2 inches. So having to do that, we have to cut and modify the strut tower, basically exactly like how the Wise Fab kit is. So if you've ever seen Ryan Turk's car or any of the BRZ FRSs that run the Wise Fab kit, you have to basically take a decent chunk out of here in order to extend the top hat like strut location. So we're gonna start with doing that because it's gonna be like basically the least fun part out of this entire thing. So I've got my angle grinder right here. Basically my plan is I gotta cut this ridge off, or at least do something with it. So I think I'm gonna cut it downward. So I get this ridge, I'm gonna hammer the ridge downward, and then I'm gonna use my hole saw that I've got over at on my table over there, and use the hole saw for the rest, kind of just make like a nice like half circle right here. I gotta do it on this side, and then I still have to measure and mark out the location on that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and start chopping this thing. Try and get the hole saw cut, and then I'm gonna pick up with you guys after I get it all cut up. Alright, so that wasn't actually as bad as I thought it was going to be. So what I ended up doing is I used my angle grinder and I just cut this ridge because it has a little bit of a lip. I cut the lip, and basically I used my sledgehammer and I folded it downward so that it wasn't there, and then I was able to use my hole saw to cut that out. So the hole saw took a little while. This battery drill actually started to like smoke from like the torque of like the hole saw, so I stopped using that, and I found a corded drill that I was able to do the rest with, and that one was able to handle it. So basically, again, still just how I mocked it up before. I only have 2 out of the 3 holding it on, and it's still loose. I can still move it around, but it's basically in, and it's fine. So I already used a file and I smoothed this edge right here. So now I'm just gonna get some brake clean it up, and then probably just tape off a little bit of this area, and I'll just spray some paint on there just to clean up the raw edge right there. But for the most part, it's on and it's good. So I'm able to spin this, and I'll like rotate it in like the caster position that I need, you know, if I ever want to adjust it, and I can still see the top of this, so it won't like contact any of the sides, so there shouldn't be any binding up here. So now that this side's all set, I'm gonna go move over to the other side and do that one. So I'm gonna probably take this off first. I'm gonna spray a coat of paint on this, and then while this is drying, I'll work on the other side. Alright, so this side over here actually gave me a lot more hassle than the other side. The hole saw doesn't really want to stay in its spot. It wants to like jump around a little bit. So on that side, somehow it kind of just like grabbed its spot and it just cut right through. This side I wanted to keep on moving around, but luckily I was able to get it to eventually just stay in its spot, and it ended up cutting the hole nicely. So I already cleaned up this one, I filed it down and I spray painted it black. So now I think what I'm going to do is that we have to take apart the coilovers and we have to swap these new ones on. So I'm gonna have to loosen the preload on these springs, so then when I go to take apart the top, the spring doesn't come, like, you know, pushing upward. So I'm gonna clear up some space on the table and we're gonna start taking these things apart. Alright, so I just took the preload off the coilover. So basically what I did is I dropped the knuckle portion of it down, so I was able to move these two collars around, and then after doing that I was able to spin this bigger one down far enough so now the spring is a little bit loose on there. So now when I undo this upper 19, the spring's not going to be under tension, so it's not going to try and shoot off the top hat. So now basically this upper portion spins, so it doesn't matter which direction I put them in, but I'm basically just going to leave it in this direction. So this one on right here goes basically, you have to assume that they kind of go like that. So here we go. Alright, so just before I had this piece spun the wrong way. So now it's basically aimed exactly how it is, in line with the knuckle. So it'll now be basically, if you line them up, it'll be like that. So now see how it's a little bit different of an angle. So now you can get some caster in there as well. So now I'm just going to go ahead, take this nut off, and then we're going to swap over the coilovers. Alright, and just like that, just like I said, just this 19mm nut on the top, and it swaps right over. So now I've got the old one off, new one on. So now I can actually go over to the car, put this thing in, just leave everything loose just for now, and at least get the coilover in the car. Actually, what I got to do first, I got to reset the preload on that. So I'm going to reset the preload and go throw it in the car. Alright, so I adjusted the preload for the coilover again, so now that's all set. I retightened all the collars, like all the locking collars, so that's all good. Now, on the top, I installed it. I still have everything loose, so I can still swivel this around a little bit to get some fine adjustments out of it. I might just make it as neutral as possible for now, and then when I start testing it and stuff, when I start testing like the angle and all that, is when I'll maybe adjust that further. So I'll probably just make it neutral for now, or as neutral as possible. Maybe I'll leave it loose for now until I get all the suspension on. But so now basically I just got to do the other side and get the other side exactly how I have this, and then I can start putting the knuckle on. So I can keep the control arm up, attach the knuckle. What I'll probably do is attach the knuckle to the coilover first, and then I could just swing the control arm up and attach it. Once I get the other coilover in, I think I'm going to start screwing around with the tie rod stuff, and after that then we'll have some fun with the knuckles. Alright, so now same on this side. We got the coilover in, top hat is on, so now that's all set. Now let's screw around with the inner and outer tie rod setup. So the FDF kit, like I said before, comes with this, which is kind of has like these two little nubs on it, and then it has like that in there, which then this large bolt goes to. So what I have to figure out is if there's a notch on the factory BRZ or not, which I don't think there is, so I'm not sure how that's supposed to work. So I might have to figure that out. I'm just gonna try it out real quick off camera, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. Alright, so I was able to get that one on, and I cycled the wheel in and out, and it doesn't hit anything, but I need to show you guys what I had to do in order to get it to clear the area that it's in. So I'm just kind of assuming that these are basically like a universal piece from them, and I'm just going to assume that because the BRZ doesn't have one, like these little spline pieces. So those two little spline pieces, those little raised areas, I had to chop those off to make this piece flush, because the BRZ didn't have anything like that for it to sink into. And then what I also had to do in order to clear kind of like the steering rack piece of the subframe and clear the sway bar itself, this third hole, I had to kind of, I kind of cut down the middle of it, so you can see right here if it focuses. So right there, you can see I had to chop some of the bracket out. Now I'm not going to use that one anyway, I'm just going to keep it right here at this one. So I had to just chop that, because then that was contacting this piece down into here. But now I cycled the wheel forward and backwards a bunch of times, and it doesn't hit anymore. So now that is all set, so I'm just going to try and figure out how to incorporate the boot. And then this side is all set, so right now I'm going to chop this one how I need to, and I'll move on to the other side. Alright, so that was a win. All I had to do was just open up that hole just a little bit from where the old inner tie rod was. So I had to use just my step bit and then just a little bit of the box cutter just to open it up just a little bit more. So now it looks like that. So now it's on. I just gotta zip tie the inner portion, but it's tight against that. So now this one is on. This part is still loose just because I just want to keep it loose until final assembly of everything. But so that boot is on, so now I'm going to move over to the other side real quick, throw the boot on, throw this on, and then we can finally put the knuckle on so we can actually start seeing the suspension put together. Of course, now I just run into another problem when I went to go put the knuckle on. These stock strut bolts, the upper ones, have like this like tapered ridge on it, and they don't fit in the control arm. So I'm going to have to see if my step drill bit goes big enough to drill that out to make this fit. So I'm going to do that right now. Alright, so now just drilling it one size bigger, it goes in all the way. So now back to installing the knuckle onto the strut. Alright, so I just got the upper strut bolts on. They're not really completely tight yet, and just hand tight I got, well, really not really even hand tight, just by hand I just put this lower control arm one on. So now the knuckle is basically on, besides just we gotta do the tie rod, and then we have to adjust like the bump stop stuff afterwards too. But this is pretty aggressive. It's definitely sitting out of the fender a lot more because it's basically, it's flush basically with my wide body kit, when before it was not like that at all. So that is going to be a lot of wheel poke, but I think I might test the angle and stuff on this before I throw the caliper on. What I'll just do is I'll probably just put the rotor on and I'll put the wheel on, and then that's when I'll check angle and everything like that. But for what I can see right now, I definitely can't run sway bars. Well, maybe. It might actually fit, but the problem is that it's going to be on such an angle, it won't really work. At least for the strut portion of it. Oh, now I can't get it out. There we go. But what it looks like is this right here is what they incorporate the sway bar with. So I might be able to pull this upwards a little bit, and then it looks like I might have to run maybe a rear sway bar end link in the front right here, because obviously this one's way too long. It's not going to reach you know, that'll be way too big for right there. But a rear end link is about that size, so that might work for that. But for the most part, it's installed, so I just have to tighten up some of these collars up here, because when I turn the wheel, this thing spins with it, and that's not supposed to do that. The coilover is supposed to spin, so I gotta just tighten that up. Oh yeah, see, it's loose. Tighten that up, and then that's pretty much it. So after that, I'm gonna do the tie rod, and we'll be able to check. I'll put the wheel on, and we'll see what the angle is gonna be like. Alright, so it's got the, I guess I'll consider it the center tie rod on, and I got it, you know, fairly straight. Everything is still loose, so it still jiggles around. But I'm gonna throw the rotor on it, and I think I'm gonna put the wheel on it, see what it looks like. Everything, like, see, everything still moves, so it's gonna be really, really rough judgment of it. But I wanna throw everything on just so I can see what it all looks like. So let's do that. Alright, well, with everything still loose, that's about the max lock I can get going that way, which is like actually quite a bit, especially for being a 10.5 inch wide wheel. So that's basically that's the angle I can get out of that. So if I straighten the wheel again, right now camber and everything is still all loose, so it still moves back and forth. But the wheel sticks out quite a bit, and it's not really cambered. It's actually a little bit of some positive camber on there. So I'm gonna have to adjust the top hat, I believe, and in order to do that, I'm gonna have to remove it just because the hole is a little bit covering it. But I think for today, I'm just gonna get the other knuckle, basically get the other side exactly in this spot. And then I'll probably come back tomorrow and do a lot of the adjusting. But I'm fine with the amount of poke it has at the bottom. If I could get it to camber in. And the other issue that I'm running into is that when I go to turn the wheel this way, it contacts quite a bit, which I kind of expected just because of the amount of, like, every wide body kit that I see that has an angle kit on it, this piece is pretty much chopped, which it does hang out maybe another 2 inches away from like where the frame piece is. So I'm kind of thinking this whole section is just gonna have to be chopped. But I'm gonna see what adjustments I can do tomorrow, and see if I can get it to go forward just a little bit. Well, I can't even really get it to go forward a little bit more because it's touching over here as well. So I guess it might just be where it is. I'm still gonna get some more negative camber out of it, and then we're just gonna go from there. So I think I'm just gonna get the other side to this exact spot, and then it might be good for now. Alright, so I just finished up the driver's side as well, so now I have everything basically generally bolted in. So now I've got this side basically all together, like just like the other side. I still have everything loose just so I could just get some fine-tuning adjustments in, but everything seems to be going, you know, fairly well, besides that, you know, the wheel wants to contact in the back. But just like what I said earlier, well, what I said last episode was with that right now my front wheel, it's over here, my front wheel is a 17 by 10.5, and I think the offset was, I think, +5. Yeah, +5. So it's an extremely wide wheel, well, a really wide wheel and a really low offset, so that kind of screws with everything. So that's like what I said, I might have to find a smaller diameter wheel in order to clear like everything, because even just like, because I know like Ryan Turk, I'm not sure exactly the wheel specs for the front of his car, but I think they were like 18 by 8s or 18 by 8.5s maybe. I'm not 100% sure. I might actually be able to message him just to see, but they're not wide wheels, and obviously right now I have very wide wheels. So I'm gonna have to figure something out about wheel situation. Like for daily purposes, like basically if I could get those to clear at full lock either direction, then when I actually downsize a set of wheels, or if I could get those things to remotely clear, like maybe just not at full lock, and then I know for sure if I get smaller wheels I should have no problems at all. So like with those still being my daily wheels, like I don't really need to be full lock while dailying, so those should work fine if I could get it to work. And then obviously when I go to a drift event I gotta swap out rear wheels anyway. I might as well just get a set for the front as well. So I'm gonna have to do some research probably tonight to see what people run in the front of these. Like maybe even with the Wise Fab kit, I'll just see what people use, and then I'm just gonna have to go from there after that. Because if I could, like I said, if I could get that wheel to remotely clear, I know when I downsize a wheel and tire, it'll definitely, like, it'll fit full lock, no problem. So that's gonna be it for today. It's already getting late out, and today is a Friday, and I just worked all day, so I definitely want to go home. But I wanted to get the kit basically all set, basically all bolted in, and I did. So I think I'm gonna be coming back tomorrow. If not, on Sunday I'll be coming back to just hopefully finish it up. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research tonight to figure out what wheel specs people are using for the front, and then after that I guess I'm just gonna have to maybe go shopping for a set of front wheels. Who knows, I might just have to do that. But so next time I'm here, final adjustments, everything should be tight, everything will be ready. I'm gonna just do a rough alignment. I gotta add a little bit more negative camber in the front with using those top hats, so I just gotta do that. And then after that, it should be all set. So don't forget to subscribe, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time. See ya.